Alright, welcome back. What we're going to be doing today is installing the Windows Server VM. So as you can see, or if I can bring your attention to these, I made the rest of those VMs like we talked about last time. So we have Group 1, Client 1, which is G1C1. This is what we made last time, and then I made these other three as well. And I made a second group, logically speaking, for us to understand. And we'll get into how we're going to use those later, but G1C2, G2C1, and then G2C2. So what we're going to have to do now is we actually need a server. So we're going to make a new VM. We are going to name it DC1. And DC is going to stand for Domain Controller. We'll get into what that is later on in the course. But for the time being, we need to get this server up and running. So Domain Controller, let's call this server 2016. I have the 2016 ISO. You might have a newer one. If you're an Alfred State student, go talk to Russell, and he will have an updated ISO for you with the key code as well. So that's probably going to be on the FTP. If not, we will get a copy for you. So there's that. Let's come down here to Microsoft Windows. For me, again, it's going to be 2016, which is right here. Still 64-bit, still 2 gigs of memory. That's all we need for now. Create the virtual disk, okay, 50 gigs is probably going to be fine. Again, make sure it's dynamically allocated. Virtual image as well, that works out, okay. Got to change the settings over here. Let's come down here to system, processor, at least 2 cores on here. I'm going to use 4. Okay, display, we're going to give the enable 3D acceleration, give this a little bit more video memory. Okay, that looks good. Storage, going to click on the disk over here, and then we're going to choose our ISO. So Windows Server 2016 edition for me. Again, you're probably going to have a new one. 2022 is the newest one. I think 2019 is the other one. So there's that. We're going to click OK here. I need to double check something. System, yeah, I forgot to do this. So off with the floppy, up with hard disk, up with optical. Okay, and then network, we're going to change this to host only for now. We're going to have to change that here, actually coming up pretty quick. And this is going to make sure that we're offline and we don't have to download any updates. For this course, again, we're not going to have any updates, primarily to save space, if you're going to be space limited. So I know a few of our students here at Alfred State are going to be space limited both on RAM and disk space. So we're trying to keep this as small as possible, and we're not connecting to the internet, so we're going to be okay. So here we go. We're going to click OK here. I'm more confident now that that is what we need to do. So we're going to start this. Okay. Okay, so the procedure of installing Windows Server is almost identical to Windows Client. If anything, there's less fuss. So we're going to click Next, click Install Now. Here we go. Don't have a product key. Any one of these is going to be fine. I'm going to choose Standard. And then I also want desktop experience. So if you didn't choose Okay, so I'm going to choose desktop experience here. If you didn't choose desktop experience, you'd get a PowerShell option, very similar to what a Linux server would be, which you just get the terminal, and that's how you interact and configure your server. So for this course, and because a lot of our students are starting out, we're going to use the desktop experience. Later on in the course, if we have a little bit of time, we'll go over PowerShell, but that's going to be an extra and not necessarily part of the curriculum. So there's that. Going to click next. Yes, we agree to terms and conditions. Next. We're going to custom install. Notice that is exactly the same at this point. We're going to hit next here, and then we're going to wait for this to install. Okay, now that we're at the setup screen for Windows Server, this is where it's going to get a little bit different. So, and this is also a little less fussy in terms of setting this up because there's a lot less options. So first we're going to set up the password for the administrator for the server itself. Well, here we go. Let's go back up here. Here we go. Come over here to finish. Okay, so this is a little different. We haven't seen this yet. So if you need this Control-Alt-Delete, if you're using an older version of Windows, to do that, we're going to come up here to Input, Keyboard, Insert, Control-Alt-Delete. Okay, there we go. That's going to open up this. We're going to log in with that password that we just set. Okay, Server Manager is going to come up. All right, so if you've gotten to this point, you are good to go on your Windows Server. The following lectures, we're going to start going over configurations and getting a network up and running. The first thing that we got to do, though, is we got to create a domain controller and the domain itself. So that'll be in the next video, and I'll see you there.